the presence of my Savior.
Hello and welcome. I am Ansel, and this is another episode of Deeper Than That. This episode is brought to you by, and I'm leaving that part blank because if you know the value of having thousands of people saying your product or service, make sure to get at me so that you could fill that space, all right? Love talking to you afterwards. So the idea behind Deeper Than That is we want to have conversations with a wide variety of people who can give us access to wisdom and nuggets that can be applied to any and all areas of our lives to make us better and to do better for ourselves and those that we love. I believe that a 1 hour conversation can lead to decades of experience being unearthed and revealed. That's why I do this podcast. Sit back, relax, because today I have a young man who's been an entrepreneur since his teens. He is very focused, very, very creative. He does think outside of the box. He is a big picture thinker. He's definitely not afraid to take risks. And he is a young man that I have been looking up to in terms of his business acumen. Listen, guys, there are salespeople, there are hustlers, and then there are entrepreneurs. And this gentleman that I have this evening is definitely an entrepreneur. Please give a warm welcome to Jalen Lynch. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
I'm great, man. Thank you very much for having me this evening.
Oh, man, I'm so glad that you taking the time out of your very busy schedule, because I know it's one thing to the next, balancing all these different things.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But thanks for that, man. I guess that's the life of an entrepreneur, right?
Gotta put in twice the amount of work, right?
All right. So I just want to start off with you telling us, who is Jalen Lynch? How would you describe yourself?
Well, I mean, that's a question of deep introspection, right? You really have to look within, because I say that, that's something that I believe a lot of people need to do much more, which is to basically look within themselves and get to know themselves and who they truly are. So I can tell you right now, Jalen Lynch is a really focused individual that really just wants to break barriers and make things happen. Really wants to go against the odds. And it's something that I've only just recently gotten to know within myself in terms of my own self-development, knowing my worth. And I think it just makes it even much more exciting, knowing that now you definitely know what your passion is, and you can just go out there and be the best person that you are. So that's just where I'm at right now. I'm a great guy. I love nature. I love God. And I'm just trying to have the best experience that I can on this earth.
All right. So you spoke about nature. Where is that nature escape that you always like to go to, since you love nature that much?
Well, honestly, my backyard, it's like I grew up, people call it the bush. I live on a hill, Maracas Valley. It's a beautiful place. And I've grown up my entire life, and I've never really been a nature person. I've always been indoors and stuff. And it's only actually until I became an adult. And I guess coming home on stressful evenings and sitting outside and just really just admiring, God's great masterpiece. We have this very nice view.
Yes.
And I just started to just be so captivated by it. After every stressful day, I would come, and that would be my point of relaxation. And I think from there on, I just built, and I started to go hikes and stuff, and just fell in love with nature, fell in love with so many things that, these like a million different things that God just created,
Right.
just appreciate that, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, guys, Jalen really does have one of the best views of the valley. I always like going there and checking it out when the sun is setting. It's so beautiful. And then Jalen has the world's best camera phone. So when he takes those photos, it makes it
Perfect
10
shots.
times better. Whew, yeah, man. Yeah, man. So I mean, you are a busy entrepreneur, but I'm sure somewhere in there you put in the fun time. So what would you say are some of your hobbies these days? What are some of the things you enjoy or you unwind by doing?
Well, honestly, I would literally say nothing at the
Wow.
point in time because of I think where I'm at right now in my career, I'm doing new ventures and it requires that amount of time, So, but I am trying to still put things into perspective. We're only human beings, we can only push ourselves that much.
All right.
But I must say I find solace in like my quiet time because
Right.
I feel as though my day is so noisy. I think the best thing that can happen is just to have that quiet moment. So I
Right.
value coming home, as I said, just sitting, breezing out, playing some music, and that's just me for now.
Right.
Because you literally have to recharge again and get out there again. There's no
Right.
weekends, there's no weekends. It's just work Sunday to Sunday. So you just
Hmm.
have to find that moment. So
Hmm.
that's just basically how it is right now.
Okay. I guess based on the timeline that you're saying, your quiet time is evening, nighttime when you come back home.
Yeah, nighttime, sometimes early in the morning. I'm a early wake up, you know. So
Hmm.
sometimes even before I start my day, I just have this nice calm moment where I just relax and free my mind, you know. Just
Right.
try to prepare yourself for the day ahead or the day after.
Right. Okay. Okay. Oh, Jillian, I know that you would have traveled, visited a couple of different places. What would you say was your favorite place to visit so far and why?
I mean, I haven't been doing much, but I've had the opportunity to go some wonderful places. But the most amazing place, the most beautiful place, picturesque, everything was Cuba. To see
Cuba.
to see just like a moment, just stop in time.
Mm,
You literally feel like you took a trip back to the 50s, 60s, Everything is just perfectly preserved. To see how it was and then to know where you are right now, to
right,
see how we can create, how much we can do. It was like inspiring. It was beautiful. It was relaxing. It was interesting. It was really good.
right.
Visiting Cuba has been the best experience I've ever had thus far.
So you're saying when you go there, it feels like going back in time. It doesn't really show any modern or
No,
updated.
not much. Not much. It's just stuck right there. It's
Right.
really nice.
So let's say I'm going to Cuba for the first time. As soon as I come off the plane, Jalen, where's the first place I should tell the taxi driver to take me?
You need to go to Havana. Havana is the heart of Cuba. That's, I think, the capital. I'm not too sure.
Mm,
But it's where everything is. It's where you get a touch of everything. You can go to many different places, but it's just one of the best places to go to as you touch them. Has all of the
right.
restaurants, have all of the all of the buildings and the cars. I mean the cars, those
The
convertibles
antiques.
and stuff. Yeah, the antiques, they're really nice. It's so colorful.
Right.
They're just like a scene out of a movie, basically. So
Wow. All right. So guys, we adding Cuba to the bucket
yeah,
list and taking it
Cuba should
straight
have.
to. Okay. All right. Noted. Noted. Jalen, would you say you are more into movies or more into series?
Um, yeah, I think I would go with series. It's shorter.
Right.
You get time to watch TV for an hour and a half.
Right.
So I catch a quick episode and catch the other one probably a week after.
So then, what's the best series you've ever watched?
Tricky one. Um, I must say that I like Money Heist.
Hmm.
Uh,
An entrepreneur that likes money heist. All right.
those are some, yeah. Um, More Netflix stuff, I'm guessing.
Hmm.
So there's been quite a few.
All
But
right.
that's actually supposed to be someone that I've been watching in terms of the second season.
All right. Okay. What drew you to Money Heist, though?
Just seeing these masterminds at action, you know, even though
Mm.
they wasn't doing the right thing, but just to know what the mind can create.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And seeing it all just evolve and thrill and everything. Yeah. Suspense as well.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Cool, man. Cool. So Jalen, I know that you are the last in your family in terms of the last sibling. Do you feel like you were or are the spoiled brat in the family?
I think that there's a misconception that it could be that, but no, I don't think so.
I don't think so. So you think you have been treated equally like all your older siblings?
Yeah, I believe that I have been.
Right.
My parents are very sacrificial, and I think they've given all of their kids equal opportunity.
Right.
And I think even in my own self, I know if it's one thing I believe I've always proved my parents that I'm a responsible young man. So, you know, I think I've tried my best to do the right thing and you know, to make them proud, to make myself proud as well.
Right.
And that I've proved my level of focus.
Right.
So I'm guessing because of that, maybe it makes me co-man of the house. I don't know.
Okay.
You know?
Noted. And again, all of that has been shown from an early age. So that trust factor has been developed from
as well.
Okay. Nice, man. So that was just some of the surface questions. So Jalen, we want to go deep. We want to really get deep into that world of entrepreneurship. We want to see entrepreneurship from your eyes, right? Now, as I mentioned, you did start entrepreneurship at an early age. So where did that entrepreneurial spirit really come from?
I mean, I feel like it came a bit naturally. It's only really recently I started to actually ask myself that question. You know, how did I start? What was my reason for doing it? I think it was just about probably my drive and I kind of owe it to my parents who they have always instilled in us, you know, no matter what you do, be the best at doing it. Anything. Right. Someone asks you to do a favor for them, just be your best, right? So I always remember that my first exposure to having a part-time job while I was in school was working with a caterer. And for me, it was nice because, I mean, coming from a low-income family, not having much when it comes to an allowance, and to be going out there and doing a part-time job and getting some sort of funds twice the amount or 3 times the amount of the allowance. So that was like, you know, a good opportunity for me. And I also remember that it was a group of us, different schoolmates, and they used to complain about the job, they tilting dishes, they doing this, you know, but I was just looking at the money. I was like, okay, well, you know, the money is good. I need it right now. So I'm going to be sacrificial. And yes, it's not the most comfortable thing to do, but I still gave it my best. And I always remember that I just started liking it. I started to open my mind more towards it, working with a caterer, serving food, being kind to people, because it has a lot to do with customer service as well. And I started to do it repeatedly, and I started to like it even more. And of course, I started to look at, you know, the business factor of it, because I've always been interested in business, you know. So I started to put the ideas together, and I was like, hey, this, I can do good at this. And if I can do good at this for someone else, I can be good at this for me as well. You know, and, you know, around that same time, I remember being offered a management position at that same job. And there were much more workers across there that were like more senior than I was. But I think it's just because of how I was probably a little more humble. And to me, I was just much more grateful and appreciative of the opportunity. So I think that level of gratitude, a door just opened right there. And I saw that vision. I was like, you know what, I can do this good. And these people could, within like a year and a half, offer me this and say, hey, you're good at doing this for us.
Right.
I was like, hey, I could be great at doing this for me,
Right.
you know? So,
And that you remember
when I got
what
my
age that was?
yeah, it was like about, I think it was about 17,
17.
17 or 18, because I remember I was just about finishing up A levels at UE. And I always remember having to make that decision because everybody was applying to go to UE to do their degree. And we all had the plans in terms of what we wanted to do, including myself. I wanted to do law. And I remember being stuck at that moment where I was literally at that place where I was like, what are you going to do? You're going to do that law degree or you're going to do business? You're going to try something, right? Are you going to look to make some money and invest it into a company? Yeah. And I don't know, everybody would have went one way and I just went the other way.
A different path.
And the rest was history.
As they say, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying then that gratitude and humility would have been important to elevating you from an entry-level job, which the others did not like, to being offered a management position. And this is without qualifications or anything. It's just showing that willingness, showing that humility, showing that gratitude.
Yeah.
Right.
Basically, yeah.
Good.
And of course, giving your best foot forward at whatever task you do.
Right.
You know, sometimes people they complain too much. They complain too much when they could actually just get the job done and be great at it.
Right.
You know.
Because you never know who's looking at you. You never know who's watching
I
you.
made too much great connections from just at that, like doing jobs like that, you know, meet so much great people. And I think that is probably one of the most, thinking about it, a very motivational factor. You meet people of different classes and you get to talk to them and you get to understand them and, you know, and you become motivated, you become inspired. You hear stories, you got to find out who these people are and you read about them and, you know, they're doing this and they're doing these great things. And I mean, I want to do something great too, right?
Indeed. Okay. So you are looking on at a business owner, you're saying that, hey, I could do this too. What was your first ever business venture?
My first ever business venture, I started my own catering company, right? Just as I worked with and for a caterer. I started my own catering company with one of my co-workers. There's this lady that used to work with us. She was a cook. And he said, oh, I was like, you could cook so good. I was like, you could cook so damn good. I was like, why don't you have your own business? And then she was like, you know, she tried it before and it didn't work and yada, yada. But I just remember working there and serving and everybody's like, compliment the chef, she's so good, the person's so good. And so I remember I think I saw something, I'm not sure if it's an ad about catering in the newspaper. I think a ministry or somewhere was looking for a caterer. And I told her, I was like, why don't you probably let's do this together, you know? I just popped up. I was like, let's do this together. And I remember I was working at the time because I got a job. And I remember taking my first salary. I distinctly remember taking my first salary and investing like 90% of it into buying 5 buffet pans. I ordered them online. I remember because I got a credit card as well. I went and I ordered it online. And my first salary, I invested it into my own company. And that was just it. And we bought the pans and she realized I was very serious. I was like, yes, let's apply. And we did, we applied and they called us and they gave us a sample job, was to do some snack boxes. And we did it really great and they were really happy. So they pulled us on their list of caterers. So once I saw that, I invested in the pans right away. I was like, you know what, this is going to be great. We're going to be good at it because you know what you do and I have a passion for this as well. I like it. And yeah, we got into business and I started to, it was my business because I had to finance it, right? And then she said, you know, she would give me advice and she would coach me and stuff. And she did just that. And we worked very good together as a team. And that's how we started the catering business. And social media was just on the uprise then. And I remember tackling social media advertising from the onset back in 2009, 10, somewhere around there. And yeah, started to do social media advertising, and here this little day-old company was getting weddings. And I was like, what? I was like, no. And I was just even more driven to just continue because you see growth. So when you see growth, you just want to push.
Right.
Right? Now, challenges came because you're pushing and you don't have you may not have the resources, you have to reinvest your funds, but whatever, you got to do what you got to do, but it has to.
Right.
So yeah,
so
that was
just to backtrack a bit, because you spoke about the applying and investing 90% of your salary. Now, this is a young man now starting to make money in a job, and he decides 90% of everything he earns is going to go into 5 pans. So the purchasing of the pans came before the tasting, or it came afterwards?
It came after the tasting. So we did the tasting. It wasn't like a meal, like lunch or anything. It was like some snack, some tea boxes, and so it was very easy to just get stuff, raw materials. So we did that very easily.
Right. But there wasn't any confirmation like, yeah, they're gonna take you when you bought the pans.
Yeah, well, they told us that the snack boxes were great because that was like the sampling, testing, and they're like, okay, we want to try you guys for lunch.
Right.
So I was confident. I was ready from there, Right. Okay. And I just invested in the pans right away because that was one of the requirements as well. It has to be like fully laid out like a buffet.
Right. Because I'm asking that because I want to find out from you in terms of taking risks as an entrepreneur. How do you measure the risk to take? How do you determine, man, I'm going for this and whatever happens, or, nah, boy, that looks like it might be too much to handle. How does an entrepreneur, how should an entrepreneur measure risk? Because you're talking about 90% of your salary going into 5 pans. So you're going to live on 10%, hoping that, it will come back multiple fold as a young entrepreneur.
I think, and I still believe it up to now, I think you just have to be very confident in your product. You have to be so confident in what you're going to bring out there, and that this is going to be great because it tastes great, it looks great, it's effective, it does what it needs to do. I'm not just doing it as a hustle or just, you have to be very confident in your product. And I remember since then, I was very confident in my company's product. So I knew that when we did this, we were going to get through with it and it's going to be something good. So I think that is one of the factors that you must take into consideration when it comes to taking risks, because sometimes people really don't sit down and think it out. Is it in terms of competition? Will my product stand against the rest? And so you really have to know what risk to take. Now, I can tell you, as much as I've said that, I have never been a major risk taker, right? I always try to plan contingently, have a plan B, almost take like a small risk instead of a big risk, because of course we all have that fear, we don't want to fail, we don't want to lose out kind of way. And while that can work, I'm not sure if I'm going to talk too quickly, but where I'm at right now, the understanding I have of, taking risks, I wish that I knew that I could have taken bigger risks much earlier. I think if I had done that, I would have doubled or quadrupled where I'm at, right? I literally believe I used to take minimal risk. Yes, I would take risks, but I would take risks very guarded. And it's only now I am actually so much even more confident in what I have and what I do. As a, come on, bro, do what you need to do because you know this is going to happen. And I think it all comes back down to confidence in what you do and your product. You need to master that first. You need to master your product. What is your product and service we're going to offer? And, your customers need to be satisfied. And all of that builds your confidence in your product as well. Satisfy customers, the logistics. Yeah.
So are you therefore suggesting that once the mastery happens in your product and service and you are confident in what you're offering, you are suggesting then to take bigger risks earlier.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Once you've done those little steps and you are seeing reward, you've done a job, this customer, that customer is satisfied, you're not having those hiccups, you're doing it, you're seeing the impact of your product, you're getting good reviews, you're growing by recommendation. I mean, if these little growth spurts are not happening, then something's not happening. You know, you're going to have to go back to the drawing board a bit and see how you can revamp things, but you need to always be constantly changing to ensure that you get the result that you get. And once you get that, you're going to be confident. Your product is speaking. It speaks for itself, you know. It could do more. That's growth right there. It is ready for growth. Why are you stifling it by not giving it the resources that it deserves? It deserves cash. It deserves equipment. You know, you're holding yourself back. Are you fearful? And this is where all the deep questions come in. Why are you holding yourself back? Right?
Now, you know, listening to you, there may be two trends of thought that may seem to go against each other, because on one hand, you spoke about being confident and you were confident in your product and you know what you are capable of. But you also spoke about having some fears. There were some concerns that you would have had and you were calculating and planning contingently and stuff. In the midst of all the confidence and the risk taking, is there room for fear? And if so, how much room is allowed for some measure of fear as you take that leap of faith?
I mean, yeah, there is room for fear, but I think you just have to keep it as minimal as possible. Like it can't get in the way of the dream. I think, yes, you know, sometimes you say, you know, leave room for disappointment and stuff, but as much as you can get that out and be like 100% confident in what you do, then yeah, that's just it. I mean, if there is fear and if you do feel fearful, then maybe you should, I mean, what can you do to get that fear out? You need to probably tweak something or think something over a bit. And so, I mean, you challenge yourself, you do that, but you know, you can't let that hold you back, right?
Right.
So you really got to squeeze that fear out and get yourself to that place where you're totally confident in what you do. But anything that you're fearful of, then it's, trust me, something you have to move on. If you're fearful that sometimes I like for me, I say to myself, I know my weaknesses. I know my areas that I need to improve on. And so sometimes when something happens, I was like, tap myself on the back, like, you knew that. I was like, and sometimes we know our weaknesses, but we cannot push it to the side because sometimes it could be a lot, you know, a lot of different things to work on. And you have so much going on in front of you right now. So you push it to the side and then something comes out of that little weakness box, as you may call it. And then you tell yourself like, hey, you've been meaning to work on that. It's like, I have had experiences like that, you know, but still that can't hold you back from, you know, the bigger picture.
Right.
I see once you're confident, you go forward, you take the risk, you know, take the risk. I believe that you can be guarded to an extent. You're not going to be like, go crazy. You have to know what risk to take as well.
Right.
You're not going to want to take, you need to get finance for an investment and you want to take like all of this and you don't need all of that, you know? But I think you just need to be responsible. You know, that's an important factor as well. Be responsible, know what risk you're going to take, and make sure you do the research and work out all of the logistics. And trust me, things that you know.
Right.
You know what your operation is, you know what you want to get it from plan A, point A to point B. What does it take to get there? Right? How much risk do I need to take? Most of the time, we have the answer. We just need to ask ourselves the questions and sit down, plan it out, and kickstart.
Right. Okay. Nice. So you spoke about this lady that you partnered with in your first venture, and she said that she would have guided you and you know, give you some mentorship. Do you still have a mentor now? How many ever years after?
Honestly, my mentor right now is my mom. And that is a funny story because she just became that person that basically saved the day, right? We could go into that story right now. So the person that I initially partnered with, we ended up having to go separate ways. And I mean, I can talk about it because I've grown from it. It's been so much years ago. I felt as though, and it's a challenge I always had at that age, trying to run my own business, being a young person and having to deal with persons that are much older than you. And you're the boss, but they have age, so they think they're wiser. They think that they are doing it way more better and they're more experienced than you, so you can't tell them anything. So I've had that challenge across the board in my very young years. I still have it right now, but not as much, because I've proved myself. But that was one of the reasons. I was just too young to be someone's boss to offer proper advice for growth. If a customer complains, I would value customer feedback, because I know it's so funny looking back at it now. My love for customer feedback, which a lot of workers didn't like because they just felt as, oh, that customer's being mean, that customer's being so. They've been this and that, don't take them on. I was like, no, the customer is the experience. The customer is what they bring the money. They pay the bills. We have to value customers. And I think that's exactly how I've grown as well. I've always listened to customers. I've always tried to change and make sure that you meet the customer's needs as best as you can. So I do remember that was one of the reasons why we mainly parted ways. There were some concerns about stuff, and I wanted to offer better solutions, recommendations, and she wasn't having it. And I used to settle a lot, right? I would settle a lot, and my dad's like, no, you're stifling growth. So I started to put my foot down. I had to challenge myself. This young teen boy, probably now turning 20. You have to challenge yourself to deal with people, deal with personalities. And I started to put my foot down, and we separated ways. I remember I was like, I didn't know what to do, because at the end of the day, yes, I know what I'm doing, but at the same time, my key person just left me, right? And I'm on my own. Guess who came to save the day? Mom did. And I was like, yeah, you could. I mean, you don't have the experience and stuff, but I didn't know, like, heaven sent an angel, because 9 years later, she is the woman running the show and the growth behind the company. 110%. I didn't know. It's like she came and she jumped in and she took over the operation in terms of being in the kitchen, preparing dishes and stuff. And, we would just learn from others. We outsource help, and we build on it and learn and apply our concepts and stuff. And yeah.
Right. So having your mom as a mentor and advisor, you would say, has been a game changer over the last few years?
Yeah, it has. I think what it allowed as well, it developed our business into basically what our competitive edge is, which is fusion cooking. So my mom, she's a great stay-at-home cook. She knows about local Creole flavor. She's a traditional cooker. She doesn't like the shortcuts. She knows about flavor and natural flavor as well, and how to balance that. And not salt is not your only flavor in food. Fresh seasonings and stuff. So she really had that traditional touch, traditional Creole Caribbean touch. And I remember, of course, with my experience working with chefs, they tend to more have that, really exquisite cuisine, salt, black pepper, sort of basics kind of flavor. So I remember Mom coming on board, and we were using some of our recipes, and she was just tweaking and add this, add that, let's try this, let's try that. And we were like, man, this is working, this is tasting good. And we just had kept that practice of, fusion cooking, and, we would research all these recipes, Western recipes and stuff, Italian recipes, and we would just add our local flavor to it, our local mix, our local twist. And then we would do the same too with our local food, try to be a little more gourmet with the ingredients and stuff. And, even our local dishes started to get a great twist. Started to use different types of cheeses and different sauces with pies, and, and that's when fusion cooking became our signature thing. And customers just loved that. Loved it.
My goodness. I don't know if this is happening to anyone who is looking on and listening right now, but I am hungry. My gosh, all this fusion cooking and Pasta and cheese, my goodness, Lord. Anyways, back to the podcast, guys. So seeing the growth, seeing how valuable having your mother as an advisor, how important is it for entrepreneurs to have a mentor?
Yes, I think that it's very, very important because I believe that you always need a renewed perspective. You know, I have definitely thought out of the box, try to teach myself, be as self-made as I could. But sometimes the best advice and the more objective advice really comes from the outside, you know. So I think it's very important to really just step out and have that person that you can go to, share ideas with, share challenges with, get their perspective on things, you know. It doesn't have to be a rich millionaire. It can be some very cool friends, business mentors as well, of course, because you want to get that business side of it, you know. Yeah, I've learned a lot through mentors over the years. Some challenges that I just have, and you're like, hey, that's the business, you know. Don't stress over it, you know. So
that's just how it is.
Yeah, that's how it is. You got to reassure yourself that this is what you sign yourself up for, and yeah.
And I guess with them saying that, you know, you going to them and they telling you, yeah, that's how it is. It helps you to know that you are on the right track. It helps you to know that you are on the right path because they would have passed there and they know you're going to come out on the other side fine.
Yeah, it does give you a reassuring feeling.
Right. Okay. So let's go to the dark side of entrepreneurship, Jalen. What so far has been your biggest failure in business?
My biggest failure in business is I think would be something that they call the S curve, is where you have to start at the bottom and basically trial and error a lot of things and learn and, you know, tweak and adjust, go back to the drawing board, you know. I think it's something that a lot of entrepreneurs tend to face because, you know, you don't have the resources and the, you know, that background of business and knowing how things are, a generation of wealth, you know, a generation of knowledge that you can have persons that can pass down to you. That is a challenge. So you on your own, you're going to have to learn things differently because you have all this work experience to know how it is. So that is one of the most challenging things. There is the financial aspect as well. You know, it's very important to start your business off with a great capital that can get your business off and running, you know, and to have a proper cash flow for a few months ahead. That's a challenge for entrepreneurs. I remember having that challenge. And then, of course, being a young person and not being able to secure proper financial support. Because, of course, you're overlooked, you're young. I remembered when I started my catering service and I thought I was doing pretty well. And I was like, oh, you know what we're going to do? We're going to open a food outlet, something very small. And I was like, you know, because the catering is part-time and, you know, I think that we could take our food out and go to a place and sell food. And I remember trying to get finance for that through banks, even went to the place that's supposed to be financing entrepreneurs, Netco. And, you know, the banks, you would have expected that, hey, you know, they have all these, you know, rigid criteria and stuff. So you're a young person, you know, starting off, maybe you wouldn't get through. You don't even have credit history, right? So here I was putting my hope in Netco. And I went to Netco, I did the application. And I almost felt as though I was going to be successful. So I do remember going to go and they were calling me. I was going back and dropping back additional stuff and doing business plans. And they came and they did a site visit. That's when I thought I sealed the deal. They came and I did a site visit. They looked at the spot that we wanted to outfit for the restaurant. And a week later, I did not get through with that. I was declined. And I remember it was a very sour moment. But guess what? A few months later, that restaurant did open. Small, nice restaurant. We made it happen. So that's just to show you can't let anybody be that final jurisdiction for you.
Right.
You know what you have, you know what you're going to do, you know what you want to do, you know it's going to be good, and there's no stopping.
Right. True. Very true. But what is one venture that you would have tried? Because I know you would have probably tried different businesses over the time span. Some of them are no longer around now. So what is one of them that you would have tried that you would say was your biggest failure? Like it blew up in your face, everything turned out bad. What was one of them?
I do remember having like jobs in catering that weren't successful at all. One or two of them. In terms of business venture, the same side restaurant that I started about a year or two after we did catering. It probably lasted like about a year and a half. The rent was pretty high. And then, of course, we were just getting ourselves started. Sales were going really good, but the spot was also very small.
Right.
So what used to happen is that because we were doing so much there now, and that was our main place of operation, catering was also growing. And it was, some of the jobs were actually requiring more space. And I do remember one particular thing happened where we got a huge catering job. And seeing that we centralized our operation in that restaurant that we were running at the point in time, it was very small. And it was too small to do the catering job. It was like about 500 people. And we did not have the capacity. And that was like my first and last blunder. We did not have the capacity to do that function. I remember it was a disaster. Everything was late. People were dissatisfied, and it was horrible. And I feel like I was having a mental breakdown. Because, I'm a person, I value customer feedback. So here I am, 500 people. Oh, it's going to be so great. 500 recommendations. 500, nothing. It was disaster. So that to me was like a downtime. I'm not going to say like a failure, a downtime. I did learn from it too, because our main issue was baking. Everything, the entire menu, we had to bake stuff, and we didn't have that oven space. We had to bake stuff in small batches. Man, I remember that week after that, I found $15,000, I don't know where, and I went and I purchased an oven, right? We went and we purchased an oven because that was the main issue that made us, the job and stuff. And then we bought the oven, it was like we couldn't get the oven through the door. And the place was like small because the spot we were operating in was small. It's like, okay, it's not just equipment, but there's facility too.
Right.
So that's when we eventually decided that, it wasn't working out being where we were. And we decided to close that. So it just was a downtime in terms of the transition and with the events that happened around that time. But I think it was a major stepping stone because, of course, I spreaded my wings more and we got a bigger space, and we did catering only this time because we realized that was the more sustainable venture because you had less overheads, you were not renting a facility. So I actually moved home. I moved home and we did an extension and annex to the house where we had our catering kitchen. And yeah, much more space, much more functional, the oven fitting freely. And that's when we started to continue growing.
So with that event that you're talking about with the 500 guests, would you say that the challenge was you took on more than you should have at the time, or that you just needed to make sure you had the right material to complete the job, or the right assets in terms of the stove and stuff?
I think it's a bit of the both, but more so that I took on more than I could chew, because I think I should have, known that we didn't have the capacity to, but that was like a learning lesson for me because I just didn't know that yet. It was the first time and I just figured out we could do it. I do remember that was a client of ours that we were servicing for quite some time, and they've been very supportive, and we were always servicing them with small jobs and stuff. So I didn't want to let them down. I didn't want to disappoint by not doing this job.
Right.
And boy, did we disappoint.
Mm.
But I mean, that's years ago, about 7 years ago.
Right.
Things like that don't happen anymore. You know, we've
Right.
learned from that. So I everything I try to do with every situation, as much as it's down and it's heart-wrenching, you must take something away from it. Must.
Right. Mm.
Otherwise, it's a waste of experience, you know.
Mm.
You must take something from it, and you must take that and apply that. And that has basically, that mindset that I have when it comes to challenging times has always been like a good foundation for me. Always take something from it. And it's even more so now. So now when something happens, I grab it by the horn. I was like, what am I taking from you today? Because you're not going to stress me out. You're not going to stress me out. So what am I going to learn from you today? I grab problems now head on.
Right.
Instead of having it come and just play with your mind and break you down first. And now you're broken and you're going to have to deal with this big problem. Yeah, so
it's okay as an entrepreneur to sometimes say, thanks for the opportunity, but I'm not able to handle that just yet.
I mean, I do that up to today. You know, I've learned that lesson years ago, and up to today, I don't double book. I have one event. If it's a wedding, one wedding. I mean, I'm growing now, and I'm continuing to grow, and I know that eventually we can have like a wider base to have more going on.
Right.
And you know, I mean, let's be real. That could be a bit of fear, right?
Yeah.
That could be a bit of fear in me because I think right now I can do more than 2 events in a day, right? And I'm still doing 1 event in a day.
Right.
So sometimes you really do have to dig deep within yourself and ask yourself the question, why am I not doing this? Why am I not taking this step? Is there a fear I need to conquer? Maybe I need to conquer that fear and I can't conquer that fear.
Right. And I know you will, man. The mindset is there, definitely. So what would you say then is the hardest part about being an entrepreneur?
Honestly, right now, I feel as though people don't, a lot of people don't understand you. And because of that, it makes you have such a small social circle. I think you're just always preoccupied because you really are trying to build something for yourself, for your family. So of course that affects a lot of things. That affects your family life. It affects your social life. It affects friends. It affects you sometimes. I think I've had a friend that told me that I'm not sentimental. I don't do things for birthdays. I don't give gifts and stuff like that. I'm like, you know, I honestly, sometimes I forget and then sometimes so these things happen from time to time.
Right.
But I don't think that I'm unsentimental. But, you know, because you have so much going on, and I know sometimes it's something that you could work on to in terms of being better at it. But that is some of the things, you know. So some people don't understand that you really don't have that time, you know, to do certain things and to get certain things done because you have to get your stuff done, you know. You have stuff in front of you that requires your attention. So, you know, sometimes it's just misconstrued and people think that you're purposely not making time for them and friends and stuff. But then you get to, I mean, it births your truest friends because now you have some friends that understands and they know and they're not bothered by it. Like I remember having like friends that were just giving me headache for not replying to messages on a certain time frame. And then I have friends that just, they know me, they understand me. They're like, okay, and, you know, and I guess it shows you valuable friendships, people that understand much better and support and knows your journey. Some people just stand on the outside and be like, oh, you need to take time for yourself. I am taking time for myself. I am actually resting. You know, when I'm doing that, I'm doing that. When I'm not doing that, I have to work, you know, I have stuff to get done. And yeah, sometimes you want to stretch yourself thin and then that doesn't work out because you're stretching yourself all over the place and it's just going to interfere with your mental health, with your physical health. I remember trying to facilitate everyone's needs. This one wants to go out, that one want to go out, this one want to go here. I'm like, okay. And I'll finish work and I rush in and I was just exhausted. I was really exhausted, honestly. Really, really exhausted. I was like, nah.
You have to pick them
People
carefully.
they have to understand what it is and the journey that you're on. Yeah, and I have very close friends that definitely understand.
Right. So I want to talk about that in terms of the friends, the social aspect a little bit. Because again, you're a young entrepreneur, you started in your late teens. Around this time is when, others would be hanging out, Lyman, the avenue, the clubs, all of those different activities that the average young adult would want to enjoy or partake in. But since you took the entrepreneur route early, do you sometimes feel like you missed out on some of those other aspects that your peers were enjoying?
I do. I used to beat myself up about it. I had a lot of friends beat me up about it. You're throwing away your youth. You're not living your life. I actually had a friend tell me that just like 2 weeks ago. I have, because I know that I've missed out on a lot. I try to maintain a social life, and that's very hard, but I do it. So I know that. But it was a challenge, but I started to think about it a lot more, and of course there is something that you must take away from it. I was like, you know what? When I always sit down and I think of my life, I love to talk to my parents and talk about generations and how was their parents and their parents' parents and where did we come from, and so to see me at this place, see the changes I'm making, the strides that I'm taking, I know that my ancestors will be proud of me. So I believe right there, I am embarking in what I'm doing. I'm embarking on generational change. So I know that there's going to be that one person that has to make that sacrifice and chart that way for generations to come. So I think that is something that has given me comfort, knowing that I'm basically making a path and steering a course. So that's something that I took from it. And actually, when I've started to tell myself that, and I actually do believe that, and I feel great. I don't live with any level of regret anymore. And
So even though they may be telling you that you're missing out and you're wasting your life, you are not thinking about what you're missing out. You're thinking about what you're putting in place for future generations.
And I'm comfortable with that, because I am contented with my level of social life. I think if I wanted to do more, if my interest was being more, so I would. My interest just isn't there. So I can't be something that I'm not. I go out from time to time, I spend time with friends, and that's just it. And I'm comfortable with that. So So I'm not forcing myself to do something I don't want to do.
Nice. I hope y'all are getting some great value, some great nuggets from this, guys. We are talking to Jalen, and he's definitely pouring on what you would have learned, what you would have experienced. But Jalen, people sometimes would talk about the haters, the critics, the ones who coming down on them and holding them back and all of those things. And, there's that saying that says, boys would only throw stones at trees that have fruit on them. And you definitely would have some fruit on your tree in terms of your successes in business. So you surely should have some critics somewhere along the way. Who would you say, well, you don't have to call names if you don't want to, but who would you say was your biggest critic in your entrepreneurial journey? And how did you handle those criticisms?
Wow. Something that I have to probably dig a little deep into. I always remember from the very early, it's the same situation I talked about with Netco, and I remember that lady very well. Like, I feel like if I see up to this, I'll be like, right? I never saw up to this day. But I remember her being one of my biggest critics, that my business model wasn't going to work and I didn't get the funding and stuff. I mean, besides that, you just have people that would just talk and just see things that basically has no merit to it, or they have no understanding. I know this is like a delicate part of the subject, but I think sometimes I think what probably impacts you the most is when you have family that are critics.
Talk about it.
Yeah, I think it's something that people don't want to talk about, but you know that it's something that will hit you the hardest, from having a stranger say something, from having family say something, right? Yeah, so I felt as though there was never that full support, at times, or probably, sometimes you have family that just, they gather their own thoughts in their head, and I'm not sure if they see your growth, they're intimidated by it, so I'm not sure. But that's been the only thing that probably I've had experience with, and but that was worked out, and so people just have to know, what's out there, what's happening, and it's going to happen. You're going to get critics. I try my very best to turn a blind ear. So I am a blind eye. Sorry, a deaf. So I'm not really too interested in critics and that, and those kind of things.
Right. Well, I mean, when it's family, it hurts a little bit more. It cuts a little bit deeper.
It does. Yeah.
Has it ever reached to the point where you got emotional, where you cried or got angry at them because of their criticism, and what did you do to overcome it?
I think I was most angry. Yeah, because it's people that you don't expect, right? And they talk about your business and your practices and what you do, and they have no clue. They have no clue to speak on things that they don't even know. They just watch from the outside and just assume. But that's just been it.
Right. Okay. All right. So I want to close up with this question to you, Jalen. If you have the opportunity to mentor a young aspiring entrepreneur, someone that has seen your journey, seen your success, and they want to model that, what would you say they should look forward to as an entrepreneur, and what should they avoid as an entrepreneur?
I think they need to look forward to challenging times. As I said, let's grab it by the horn. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be different. If you really want to do this, it's not going to be your comfort zone. Growth does not happen in your comfort zone. So however comfortable you're feeling right now, just know you're going to have to give that up. And I think once you condition your mind from the beginning, had I known the advice I'm giving now, I've given myself from before, I would have done much more. I would have been differently. I'd have behaved differently. I always used to run into my comfort zone. It was my shield. It was my hiding place. Growth does not happen there. You have to challenge yourself. You have to step out there. I spoke before about being confident in your product. I think, yes, everybody wants to get into business. Everybody wants to do something. It's not a toy. It's not something that you just see on TV and you want that for yourself. You really need to know what is business, what is your passion, because you cannot do something that you're not passionate about. Even if you're not passionate about the product, but you're passionate about selling, then you're going to be a great salesperson. But there needs to be something that you're passionate about. Don't look at business as something for just money. Yes, it's going to earn you money, but you're going to have to put something into it. You're going to have to develop that foundation, mentor it, nurture it like a baby for it to grow well and for it to be prosperous, to bring return back to you. People want to go into business because they just want to make money, and they're just on that frame of mind. So they're not thinking about the intricacies, the key things that you need to groom and to mold a business. They want to throw all of this money into a business, get all of these lavish stuff. They don't do certain things that it's supposed to be done because they just want to open a business. Sometimes it's for show. Sometimes it's just some sense of accomplishment, yeah. But there's so much more to it than that. You know, so know your product, of course, be passionate about it, and be prepared for change, because that's the only place that growth happens. If you're comfortable now, that just know that all of that's going to have to change. You have to put in all of your time. So that's the first thing that's going to change. You don't have a business, you have all this time on your hands, you sleep. You have a social life, you look at your iPhone. My iPhone haunts me every Sunday to tell me how much hours a day I spend on it. Why are you sending me that? You know? So that's a haunting reminder right there. If you spend 7 hours on a day on your phone, you're gonna have to throw that out the window. That's not gonna work for you. You're gonna have to give double the amount of your time for your business. You know, all of these things are gonna have to happen. And you know, and I think that you can do great things. You know, take risks. As I said, once you're at that place where you're confident in what you're doing, what your product is, and the impact that it's going to have when you bring it out there, then you go right ahead and you get what you need to start and get that business afoot. It's time for that baby to start walking. Yeah.
But in spite of all of that, you would say entrepreneurship is worth it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worth it. It helps develop you as an individual. I think the journey is not bad at all in terms of the growth that you experience. Because I know a lot of people get things handed to them. People have that privilege, you know, generational wealth. But I always believe that they will always have to come back to that place where somebody's going to have to go back to the roots to reestablish those principles. You know, you're that person right now. And that's a great thing. It's all how you see it. You're working hard, but that's a great thing. You're sowing that seed. You're steering that change. You're doing much more than you think you're doing. Yeah, so.
Wow.
Can happen.
Jalen Lynch, ladies and gentlemen, entrepreneur extraordinaire, laying it on thick, letting you know what to expect, what to look forward to, but telling you in the end, it's all going to be worth it. Jalen, why don't you just, you know, let the guys know in terms of what business you have and you know, where they could find some of this amazing food that you have been describing, sir.
All right, well, my most recent venture, which I'm most excited to talk about, is Rustic House Grill and Lounge. And I think it's a very great thing. You know, we do a nice variety of grilled foods, pastas. We're now launching our line of sandwiches. We started with hoagies. We're going to come with burgers. And everything is just great quality. I can guarantee you that. It's great quality food, traditionally cooked, freshly prepared. All of our meats are prepared by order. Only thing that you're going to get that's probably prepared within 15, 20 minutes is barbecue chicken, because that's done in a few pieces as well. All of your meats are prepared fresh. We have a great variety of sides, regular sides, premium sides. We have the best corn pie on the town, best coleslaw, best loaded potatoes. And then we have our regular sides. We have a variety as well. It's not just fries, potato salad, macaroni salad. We have things like creamy mashed potatoes that is out of the world. It's a bestseller. And stir-fried noodles and stuff. So we have a nice variety. You know, we try to bring restaurant-style food basically to the streets. Right? And trying to maintain that traditional rustic touch. So that's Rustic House. We're located on number 62 Eastern Main Road, correct. We're directly opposite the TT Post Office, which is next to the Priority bus stop, which by the old NP gas station used to be there, close to Burger King. You can't miss us. We're on the main road. See us there. You know, Rustic House has built off of our catering service that is very much operational. We're revamping it right now, you know, with the end of the restrictions and the places opening up and events starting to happen again. We're revamping our services. We are Savor City Caterers, and at the moment you can find us on social media. We cater for all your private events, corporate private events, and we have a really nice array of stuff coming up. So if you can check us out on social media, like our page, you'll be getting a lot of great updates coming soon.
Yes.
You know? Yeah.
Yes. And let me endorse, guys, when he says the best, yes, it's the best. I remember a few days ago visiting Jalen's office, and the phone would not stop ringing because people
Our
were
friend
calling
brings
in orders.
KFC. Like it's KFC. I was like, my staff are like, oh my gosh, my staff are like, we dream this phone ringing when we go home. Yeah,
it was non-stop. So, as he said, customer service is a very telling tale in terms of the quality of what you're offering. And with the phones off the hook, man, that is the best of the best. You got to try the hoagies. You've got to try the hoagies. If you like it hot, ask for it hot. If you like it mild, ask for it mild. But you've got to try the hoagies. Jalen, thank you so very much for your time. Thank you for your expertise. Thank you for sharing a bit of your life and your entrepreneurial journey. And I do hope that someone that looked at it and listened to it could better understand and appreciate the life of an entrepreneur, what they have to go through, and still know that in spite of it all, once you are passionate, that it is worth it. So
definitely.
this is, so any closing words for aspiring entrepreneurs?
But I just want to say thank you very much for having me. It's always good to, to share your insights on things. I think it's a great thing for us to be our brother's keeper. I mean, who wouldn't want to do something differently, be their best at what they can do, and just achieve great things, and I'm not just talking material things. There's a lot of stuff that we can achieve out there, So it's always good to share, and I really hope that persons are moved and, are inspired as well to basically just step out there and challenge themselves. Yeah. And of course, be the best at everything you do. You're doing something, it's not your most comfortable task. Do it at your best.
So there you have it, folks. There you have it, guys. So this is Ansel signing out for Deeper Than That. Make sure that when you're talking to someone, ask those deep questions, because you never know what nuggets of wisdom you could get from it. All right, so that's Ansel signing out.
In the presence of